Hello and welcome to the Sports Wall. We have a big show. We have Andrew, we got Nate, we got Cody, we got myself. We're gonna preview a little bit of the NFL draft tonight. Why don't we kick it off? Andrew, how are you doing tonight?
A long day.
Yeah,
Working until about 8 o'clock, and I'm happy to talk football for a while.
yeah, a little NFL draft eve. Nate, how are we doing tonight?
Good. Another day in the books. Draft eve. Looking forward to tomorrow.
Cody?
If I was any better, I'd be illegal.
All right. Well, let's get right into it. NFL draft tomorrow night. What time does it start? 7?
Yeah.
7 Central? Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So Packers picking 25th in this year's draft. You guys have what would you like the Packers to do with the 25th pick, or what anything in particular, Andrew?
25. I mean, you see all the mocks. You see who is likely to be there. I think they got to move. I just don't think they're going to get who they want. I don't know what it's going to take to move up to a spot where somebody that they would want would be. So I wouldn't have an issue with them trading back either. With 11 picks, I would rather them use the picks to trade up. So I think that's what I'd like to see them do, trade up for somebody in a high-value position that can step in right away. Safety, corner, offensive line.
Yeah, you had mentioned moving. Obviously, that's the big takeaway from Goody's pre-draft press conference was, he wants
More picks.
More picks, exactly. Now it is smoke season, so you never really truly know what these guys are actually thinking and what they actually want to do. But the sense you got coming out of that is that the Packers probably going to be making some moves, probably more than likely backwards for more picks and stuff like that. So, Nate, what are you thinking?
I don't know. More picks can mean a lot of things. Like more picks gives you the option to package them to move up. And I don't know, he's moved up in 4 of his 5 drafts or something like that. Or every draft he's made a move in the first round. It's tough to move up from 25 anywhere real high, but I could see realistically if there's a guy that they really like at 18, 19, maybe package the first and a second or whatever it might be to move up to that spot if you really want a guy. And yeah.
They definitely have the ammo to move up if they want to move up. If they have somebody on their draft board that they want, they have the ammo to move up because they got 5 in the top 100.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what would be the limitation of how high they can get. I don't know how the numbers on that, but they definitely have the ammo if they want to move up for sure.
I'll see what it.
Go ahead, Nate.
So
I'll see what it.
I'm looking at the draft chart. I was looking at just a random draft chart that I just Googled real quick, and it looks like based on this, if they package 25 and 41, they could move up to about 12.
Okay.
That's just going by some draft chart. I don't think that's accurate. I would say
and from
maybe as high as they could probably get, but
yeah, and from the sounds of it, that's like the chaos section of the draft. They kind of expect the most movement in that area of the draft. But anyways, Cody, what do you got to add?
To me, it's not really about the first round because this is a really interesting draft and there's some wild stuff that's going to happen. To me, it's more of like a pool of players that I'm interested in. Obviously, there's 1 or 2 that I'd be ecstatic if they fell to us and we took them. It would be really exciting, but to me, it's really how he packages the first 2 days of the draft. There's just so many interesting guys in each pool, in each position pool that we need. I think that really you just kind of play the board, and whoever falls to you, that kind of dictates where you go after that. I mean, obviously, if you love a guy like Mitchell or Murphy and they're dropping down to like 18 or 19, then maybe you reevaluate at that point and you decide to pull the trigger and make a move. I just think you have to see what happens with the quarterbacks first, because if obviously we know 4 are going to go in the top 12 or 13, but if a guy like Penix or Nix also slides in there and pushes these other guys down the board, that's when you really need to be nimble on your feet and be ready to pull the trigger on something.
That's one of the luxuries the Packers have always had. They've never really had to take a quarterback in the first round. So the more quarterbacks that go for the Packers, usually the better in the first round. So we got that at least going for us. The more quarterbacks, the better.
I will say this: the Jets pick at 10. Had Rodgers' Achilles held up all year, that would have been a mighty nice 10th overall pick. That
they would have been
at the same time, I will say that would not have been a 10th overall pick.
No,
We probably drafted in the late teens, early 20s.
at the absolute best. With that defense and Aaron Rodgers, could have been very late in the first round.
Yeah.
So say, all right, we'll go under the assumption that we're going to stay at 25. What is there a position group you'd like them to see in target?
I can't say, like, if you're saying we're definitely picking at 25, you'll never hear me say you should target a position group, because at that point it's just you got to
value.
You got to take the most valuable player on the board.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're leaving them for a team that was better than you last year. So as that goes, that's how I feel. As far as position groups that I would hope would be there, I mean, I would really like a tackle. I don't have as much faith as it seems like the Packers do in Rasheed Walker. I think everybody knows that Packers could use more in the secondary, either position, safety or corner. So one of those 3 positions I think would be ideal, especially if somebody fell.
Yeah, I think this is kind of going back to what I was saying before. It's going to be tough not to overreact to the first round pick, but we have so many picks that are high value in the top 100 that you really want to see what they do on the first 2 days, because if they decide to go tackle, then it kind of dictates what you hope they do on day 2. But there's like, I would love more defensive line, because despite the investment we've made, there's a lot of dudes that are unproven, and Kenny Clark, we have no idea what's going to happen there. And your entire defense starts with your defensive line. And I just don't think we have consistent contributors despite the investments we've made in the past. So that's an area I would love to see. Obviously, at some point, you're going to need another linebacker, despite them loving O.J. McDuffie. And obviously, we need secondary. So that tackle is another obvious one, too.
Yeah, and I know how you love Murphy, Cody. I don't know if he's going to be there.
I don't think he'll be there at 25. It would need to take a drop from the heavens.
If he fell, it would be a no-brainer.
Yeah. This on the car ride home today from work, the local guys were all over the offensive lineman from Duke. I can't remember what his name was.
Graham Barton.
Yeah, that guy. They were all over him saying that would be a home run pick for the Pack. He was there for the Packers.
He's one of my favorite players in the draft.
I don't think that'd be a home run pick in the first round.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite players in the draft, but I think his biggest value is on the interior, and it's tough for me to invest a first-round pick if a guy's going to stay inside. If ultimately he can make it as a tackle, maybe that's a different story, but that's a big question mark right now.
Yeah, I 100% agree. With 11 picks, like one of the things Gutekunst has done, Thompson has done it, is rounds 4, 5, 6 is spend 3 picks on guards, 3 picks on running backs, 3 picks on receivers, whatever it is. And I like that particular strategy on the interior offensive line.
The one thing I will say about Barton is he theoretically can play all 5 positions, and obviously Goody loves versatility in linemen. So that coupled with his RAS score, he screams Packer, honestly.
I was just going to ask that. I don't know what his RAS score was, but
his freshman year, he started at center for Duke, and then the last 3 years he was at left tackle. So One of the other things that I heard or on the radio, I think from Goody's press conference was, can you be too tall to play offensive line? With I think there's two guys that are about 6'8", 6'7", 6'8". One from Georgia. I don't know where the other guy is from.
I think Guyton's huge too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easier at the tackle position to be tall. On the interior, it's can be tougher because those big guys on the defensive line are able to get inside you and get leverage quite a bit easier.
Well, that was one of the things that he had said in his press conference is, bigger, faster, stronger is always something that you're looking for. But I think the biggest thing on the offensive line, the takeaway from his comment was that the versatility is what he looks for more than anything. And that's been kind of proven throughout his drafting, at least and I mean, even Ted Thompson going back to him. So, let's see here. What else should we talk about? What don't you want to see the Packers do?
Draft a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, outside of that, and maybe I don't even want to say tight end because there's so many good tight ends in the middle rounds. I would say, yeah, outside of quarterback, I can't really think of anything that would really piss me off, honestly.
I mean, I wouldn't want to see them make a big move up for a position where it feels like we've already got a lot of competition and a lot of, like a receiver. Like, don't move up in the first round to grab a receiver, right? Like,
I don't think we need to worry about that.
No, but I mean, those are the type of things. As much as I would love to see us grab a middle linebacker, I don't want to see him reach for a middle linebacker in the first round. That type of stuff. Like I do believe in positional value. Like, quarterback position, you can probably add a 10%, 15% multiplier to their draft grade because they play that position. Middle linebacker, maybe you go negative with the multiplier.
Yeah. Nathan? Quarterback?
No quarterback. Quarterback, obviously, is a no-go. I'd say top pick. I don't know. Like, just making sure that you're not giving up. If you're going to move up, fine. But Green Bay's been really good about not sacrificing future draft capital. And that's one thing that I always like. You get those St. Louis or now the Rams of the world and all these other teams that haven't picked since 2016 in the first round, and I really don't want to see something like that. And I don't think that we have to worry about that, but that's the only thing I can ever think of I don't want to watch the first round of the draft and not see the Packers picking it.
When's the last time the Packers didn't pick in the first round?
Jordy Nelson.
Yeah.
Oh no,
he traded the pick.
It wasn't that long ago.
But Nelson, they traded that pick like the year before, didn't they? With King, they just traded back.
Yeah. But
Is that how that went down? I guess I was thinking King. Yeah.
King is the most recent.
Yeah.
King's been since Jordan.
They had a first round pick until they were on the clock.
I mean, and it's that draft is a sensitive subject to most Packer fans, anyways. So
they would have screwed up TJ. They wouldn't have drafted him anyways.
Yeah. All right. Well, now that you got what they don't want, what do you expect them to do? I expect
them to move around a lot. Like I really, really do. I don't think they'll make 11 picks. I think they'll make less than that. I expect them to move around frequently in the first 2 days.
I expect them at the end of the day. I think I expect them to have more than 11 draft picks.
It would surprise me if they have more than 11. I feel like they view not that many jobs open, and they want to try to go after the guys they're identifying. I mean, obviously, you want to take as many swings at it because your hit rate is never going to be high.
I was going to say, the draft is really a crapshoot.
Right.
The more bites at the apple you got, the better.
No, I agree. You got to remember though that Goody's still a scout at heart. So if he really sees a guy he likes, he's going to try to get him. So yeah. I feel like when he has that mobility, and he's 20 picks away from a guy he really wants, I would not be surprised to see a package to go up and get somebody. Not in the first round. I don't think that's going to happen in the first round. I really don't. But second and third round, I could definitely see it.
Yeah, I mean, days 1 and 2, I can more see that because, like you said, like draft is a crapshoot, but the hit rate is a lot higher in rounds 1, 2, and 3 than it is 4, 5, 6, and 7. So if you're going to go after guys, those are the rounds to do it in.
I will say too, I think the general consensus in the scouting community is there's kind of a drop off after like the top 16 or 17 prospects. So, and that's not inclusive of JJ McCarthy and the other quarterbacks. So if some of those guys start getting drafted in those spots ahead of us, and some of those quote unquote upper tier guys start getting pushed down, I could see that being a scenario where he decides to jump a couple spots to take a guy.
I also I think I read it on The Athletic, where a lot of scouts think that after 140 or so prospects, like it's just a bunch
it's a cliff.
Like there's a bunch of like nobodies basically at that point. So make your moves early, and take a chance on some athletes late.
To that point, I think I heard that they said that there's only like 58 underclassmen in the draft compared to like 100 and some last year, and they were contributing that to NIL
for sure.
A lot of guys are staying in college, but then also to your point about the only like 16 guys. I think Daniel Jeremiah said he had first round grades for 23 guys, and then. And then from there, I think he said like from that point to 150, the margin of difference between 20 or 24 and 150 was marginal and stuff like that. But he only had draft grades for 23 guys for first round. So more quarterbacks going, the better.
Which helps, I guess, in that scenario, it helps out the Packers in rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah, If you could have free reign of Lambeau Field for one day and not get in trouble, where would you go?
South End
right now. No, I'd go to the draft room. I'd go to the draft board and take a look at the draft board.
They still wouldn't let you in.
No, I don't give a shit. I'm still snapping pictures. I'm getting in. It would be nice just to like have that inside information to be like, oh. I wouldn't leak it or anything like that, but it'd just be like the Packers are going to pick that guy.
Really?
You would tell us in a heartbeat.
They're taking this guy.
Click.
Who would I have to tell?
Us?
I imagine it would make its way
into you guys
rather quickly.
Don, you would be all over telling us who they're going to take.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't when the Packers were on the clock. I would.
And you'd still be wrong.
And I'd be betting you fuckers.
You'd be that guy on Twitter spoiling it for everybody trying to watch it on TV.
That's Gutekunst's fake.
All right. So all right. Since where do you think the Packers will be making their first pick? And if you think they'll trade it, where do you think they'll go? Like what pick do you think they'd trade up to or trade back to? Andrew?
I feel like he wants to move up. I really do. I don't have any real reason to feel like that other than, seeing how he's done previous drafts. My guess would be it's 18, 19, 20.
Who would you expect them to be targeting?
At that point, probably a corner. I mean, you hope one of them falls.
Okay. Nathan?
I'd say 21. I can see 19 that area, but anything higher than that. If they go higher, I think they're going after the lineman that Cody mentioned earlier, Murphy from Texas. Then I think you're looking at probably going all the way up to that 12 range. I've seen him as high as 8 and 9 to Atlanta and Chicago. So if he slips down to that 12, 13 range, then that's still a pretty steep climb for the 25th pick.
The hard part with getting that high is
probably a third too.
The hard part is you're going to have to try to find a dance partner in that spot because at that point you probably expected those teams to have already traded back because there was a team that tried to move up from that spot to get a quarterback. So the hard part is, do they want to trade back again? or not. So that's going to be the hard part, I think, getting up that high. Cody?
Yeah, I think if you're trading up, I would think it would be for a secondary guy most likely. And to me, that would tell me you'd have to get in front of the Eagles at 22. Because we saw what their secondary looked like last year. So I got to imagine they're looking at secondary. And I mean, whether Arnold, Mitchell, if one of those two is on the board, I would imagine they're looking at him or Cooper, because honestly, there's a pretty strong chance he goes before we pick two. So my guess would be it'd be for one of those three guys ahead of the Eagles would be my guess.
Yeah. I think it was Daniel Jeremiah that tweeted out that he wouldn't be surprised if he saw like the Eagles trade up for like Bowers or something like that. But
I can't see them trading up for a tight end in the first round. That's
They
just
got Goddard. They got Goddard still, don't they?
and it just goes against how he wrote
in
it.
and out of the lineup last year.
I don't know.
I agree with Cody. Like that's where I thought positional value. Like that's a big risk.
There's a lot of people saying that he could go 10 to the Jets.
That's a lot of risk to draft.
I mean, if you're at 10 and he falls, or I don't even want to say falls because he's a stud, but he's still a tight end. I mean, if you're at 10 already, I see it. Whatever, you're trying to maximize your Aaron Rodgers window. If I'm them, I probably still don't make it. I'm probably still taking a tackle because their offensive line was so bad last year.
To their defense, they did sign 2 tackles this year. I mean, they're aged, but they did sign 2 tackles.
What are the Jets doing next year? Like they don't have any other backup quarterback because they just traded Wilson away.
Wilson, yeah.
Do they dare go down that rabbit hole that Green Bay did?
No.
I don't think they will.
I would love to see it.
Oh my god! What I would give to see the Jets draft fucking Penix.
There would be anarchy in the streets.
But it's got to be talked about. Like, what do you do next year if Rodgers decides that, you know what, I'm done. Like, this isn't working out anymore.
The real question is, does he win MVP next year if they draft a quarterback?
Penix to the Jets, man. That's the dream right now. I hadn't even considered that. That would be so funny.
Penix or Bo Nix or something like that.
Oh my god, that would be funny.
I think the Packers stay put, and if there's nobody there that they like, if the lineman's gone, corners are gone, I think they're out of there. Probably back to the second round, or maybe somebody wants. What's that?
I could see Kansas City moving up to their spot and flipping.
Well, either that or somebody that didn't get the quarterback that they wanted, or somebody comes in for maybe Bo Nix or Penix if he's sliding to late first round.
I feel like if they're still at 25 when pick 25 is up, like I feel like the guys they want just aren't going to be there. Like they may pick there, but I feel like they will be trying hard to back up because I just feel like Gutekunst is going to try and move up to get his guy.
Yeah, I know Daniel Jeremiah had Cooper going to him in his final mock draft. I think he just had that out maybe a half hour or so ago. So who knows?
It makes it past Pittsburgh. I
don't either.
I personally don't want them to move up. I don't think there's a guy that's a lock, and there's a lot of depth in like that mid tier that I'd rather have the extra capital. Especially when you're talking about secondary, there's a pool of guys that I would be fine with having. Like, I don't see a guy that I would really want to move up for and sacrifice capital for.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll go around and go based off, I guess, where you expect them to go. Who will be their first pick? Cody, we'll go with you first.
Man, I almost expect them to go tackle. My gut is just telling, if Morgan is on the board, I see Goody liking him. I don't know. They need a tackle so bad because you need competition for Walker, and they don't want to keep Tom at tackle from everything. that has been said. So it'd be surprising to me if they don't take a tackle.
Yeah. And I think I sent it to the group that the what was it -180 for the Packers to draft a tackle is what the books have it at. So, and I don't know how well the books would know something like that or not, but
It's all Vegas odds.
Tackle is the betting favorite. So
I would have thought they would have
Offensive
taken.
lineman, I should say.
I would have thought they would have taken a tackle last year, not given the uncertainty with Bakhtiari, but
I was kind of surprised when they said on the radio they didn't draft a lineman at all last year.
Yeah, I didn't think that Walker was anything special his rookie year, and then last year I expected Yash to be the starting left tackle, and then Walker was starting them most of the time, so that surprised me. I'm surprised that they want to. I can see why Tom would be moved inside. He's so versatile, like Jenkins, but the dude held his own against Parsons from the Cowboys. I thought he had a real high, like second highest in the NFL grade at right tackle. So that surprised me that they want to get him back inside. Quite honestly, though, I'd say D-line or somewhere in the defensive backfield. I think that with Douglas gone and Stokes being so injury prone that it's you need to lock up that defense and get more aggressive on that front, even though they've spent how much top end draft capital.
I was just going to say, how many years in a row is it now that we've drafted a defensive player in the first round?
Everyone but Jay Love.
Well, I guess since Jordan Love, since what, 2020?
Yeah.
No, actually, 2021.
We drafted one offensive player in like the past 12 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And I will say this too. I don't want them to take tackle with their first pick because I think there's going to be so much more value outside of that. And
we need multiple linemen.
And the guys you'd be taking at tackle at that spot, there's a lot of other guys that you could put in that pool that you could probably get a round or two later. I would much rather take a swing at D lineman would be my preferred choice. But I mean, secondary, we definitely need guys there too. So there's a lot of ways they can go where I'd be happy.
Yeah.
So Cody, going off of that, they've got Clark, whose future is uncertain. They just drafted Wyatt, 2 years ago? And you've still got TJ Slayton. And last year they got Brooks and who's the other? They had
Vaness.
Not Vaness. There was another interior guy. I can't remember his
Colby
name.
Wooden.
Wooden. Yeah.
So do you look more interior D-line or are you looking more for like a defensive end that can get after?
For me, I don't think any of those guys. Brooks showed a little bit. He's a nice player. He's a nice player.
He's a pass rusher though.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with this. I don't think any of those guys outside of Brooks really showed any pass rush ability. And I think if you can get a guy that has that, it would be amazing. That's really what we're lacking. Like, most of this comes from my lack of faith in Rashawn Gary and the unproven upside of Luke Vaness. And Preston Smith is old.
Yeah,
Preston's solid and he's available, but he's not gonna wow anybody.
Yeah. So Andrew, who are they Packers picking?
I think he's gonna trade up for Cooper. I just feel like that's what he's gonna do.
Yeah, he does feel like a kind of
I could see that.
prototypical Packer in a sense.
He went to Iowa, he's white, plays a skill position. I mean, and he scored really high RAS score. I mean,
can play corner or safety.
Yep, versatile. Screams good things, to ask me.
Cody, you keep mentioning defensive line. How deep is this defensive line draft?
I think I really think to me there's a top tier of two guys. Murphy, and I would include Newton in that. I think Newton is good. Some people don't like him. I think he is. I get the measurables that he doesn't have, but he just produces and he just finds a way to get his way in the backfield. He blocks kicks. Like, he's just one of those gamers. What measurables are working against him? Has he got short arms or something? Yeah. Yep.
Murphy's kind of in that Aaron Donald build, isn't he? Kind of on the shorter end. Isn't Murphy like 6'1", 6 foot?
I don't think he's as small as Donald was. He wasn't playing his most ideal position in college, and I think that's why he's not a slam dunk top 10 pick, honestly.
Now, I did see like early on that Newton was projected first round. Is he still projected first round or not anymore?
He's got a lot of variance on him.
Yeah. Okay.
I've seen some scouts rank him as like a top 15 player, and I've seen some scouts like rank him in like the back end of the 30s. I've seen mocks have him in like the teens. I've seen mocks have him in the back half of the second round. Okay. So he's kind of a tough guy to get a gauge on.
I was gonna say, I think like the first couple mock drafts out, I feel like I'd seen him in like the early half of the round at least and stuff like that.
Who are we talking about? I missed that.
Johnny Newton.
He was from Illinois, right? That guy?
Yeah.
All right. So I got a question from an audience member. He wants to know, how does the Packers transitioning from 3-4 to 4-3 impact their draft decisions?
Wait, who's it from?
Brian Spacek.
Brian put this in the
all the way from
Ryan in South Beach.
Yeah,
glad we have a nationwide audience here.
He was too busy. He was probably at the Miami Heat game tonight. He couldn't come on the podcast.
Andy, I'll let you take this one first.
I was gonna say, I think we've talked about it a little bit in previous shows. But
I mean, it's not quite as simple as, all right, we used to play 3-4, now we play 4-3. They used to play nickel. They're still going to play a lot of nickel, right?
It's going to be like their base defense now.
I mean, it has been for years. That's really not going to change. I mean, the base differences between a 3-4 and 4-3 are pretty stark. In a 3-4, you want three relatively large block-eating defensive linemen to take up blocks, and you want linebackers that can run and fill gaps. And then at least one of those outside linebackers, you need to be able to get off the edge after the quarterback. In a 4-3, your defensive interior can be a lot more disruptive. It's not quite as much about eating blocks. You can be more you can get up the field a little bit better, and your pass rushers and your defensive ends can be more, I mean, you want them in the Julius Peppers style, as opposed to, when we had Mike Daniels out at the 3-4 defensive end. That's the right style for a 3-4 defensive end. It's absolutely not going to do it for a 4-3. And in a 4-3, you need linebackers that fill, because you just need guys that are big, strong, get to the hole and close it down.
So then that goes into the next part of his question. Can McDuffie actually play in the space required?
Well, they seem to think so. They love the dude.
Well, and I think some of that too is coming from Hafley, because he played for Hafley at Boston College, right?
That is a slight concern of mine. Is does Hafley overrate him because he had him in college versus what he is in the pros? I don't know. I mean, time will tell on that. I mean, he's going to be playing Mike, so
but if there's somebody that knows how to use him, that would be the guy.
I mean, he knows his strengths and weaknesses, I would imagine. And going back to the 3-4-4-3, how does it affect the draft portion of that question? I mean, I think it just puts more emphasis on us needing another linebacker.
And
the D-line, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're looking in the second round, which is where I would assume I would hope we take one or use one of our picks in the second round, whether it's Cooper, Wilson, or Junior Colson. If we come away with one of those three guys, I'd be happy with using one of our second rounders on one of those guys.
Okay. Yeah, no doubt. Do you guys have anything else to add to the draft for the Packers specifically?
I guess my question for the group would be: are there any prospects that you kind of like outside of the first round that you would like us to go after, or it would make you excited?
I can give you one that I wouldn't want.
What's that?
I can give you one I wouldn't want.
Is this the Braylon Allen comment?
Hell yeah.
I like the running back from South Dakota State. I forget his name. Smaller guy, but I can't remember his name. But he'd like to be a what?
Is it Pierre or something?
I don't think so. He'd be a 4th round pick, I want to say.
Nate, you got any day 2 or day 3 guys you got a little jonesing for?
Isaiah Davis.
Isaiah Davis, yeah.
I think he's too much in the same mold as Jaden Reed, but Malik Washington from Virginia is someone that really struck me as kind of a Tyreek Hill-esque. He's 5'8". He caught up over 100 passes, I think, the last year, maybe the last 2 years. And just one of those gadget type players that I thought, you know what, you put him alongside Jaden Reed in the backfield, and that could be real interesting to see some of the plays they come up with. But I'd say that I don't want to see Braylon Allen in the top 3 rounds, maybe even not the top 4 rounds, but I think if you get to round 5 and he's there, Jacobs and Dillon are no sure bet past this year, maybe next year. And it's another body to have in camp, and I don't know. I wouldn't say that Allen's one of those guys I'm like, oh yeah, we got to get him. Maybe Bortolini if I'm picking a Badger.
I mean, if we're going off past Badgers, how about Garundolo, whatever the hell his name is?
Is it Garundolo?
From Louisville.
He can run.
Didn't Bortolini score in the 99th percentile of his RAS score?
Yeah.
That's right up there there's your guy.
I mean, we definitely need to get at least one running back in this draft. We need to take a couple swings there for sure.
That's day 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Don,
I wouldn't mind outside of the linebackers in round 2. I wouldn't mind ending up with Dayton Hicks or Javon Bullard. I think both those dudes are just really good safeties.
Okay.
I mean it depends. It depends obviously what we do in our first round. So if we end up with Cooper, it becomes more of a luxury pick at that point. But
I'd say there's that Yale tackle too. I think he's like a day 2 pick. Kieran, I can't even begin to try to pronounce his last name, but I figure the dude's from Yale. He's like 6'6", 6'7", plays tackle.
I talking about Kingsley from BYU. Didn't he go to BYU?
His name, the first name is Kieran, I think, but I figure, the kid's got to be smart to play at Yale, so maybe it translates. Yeah, there it is. Kieran Amagaji.
It's about as good as I could do, probably.
That's not hooked on phonics.
I like the Dylan Johnson, the running back from Washington. When I watched him in the national championship game, I know he was hurt and stuff like that, or against in the national championship game, I know he was hurt and stuff like that, but he looked like he would be a hard runner and stuff like that. So we'll say Dylan Johnson or Estime. So, anything else to add for the Packers specifically to the draft?
The Niners are reportedly looking for a first-round pick for Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, I saw a little clip from the Pat McAfee show that what was it? It was from Lombardi saying something about how either Ayuk or he wouldn't be surprised if Ayuk, because Ayuk needs a new contract and stuff like that. But if he wouldn't be surprised if Ayuk or Debo were traded.
Dime a dozen.
What's that?
Dime a dozen.
Yeah.
Debo's a little bit different, but I would never give up premium draft capital to trade for a receiver, especially one that needs a new contract.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. I would much rather take a mid-round flyer and a guy with speed to theoretically push Christian Watson and hopefully we could push him out and get a different speed guy downfield. But different topic for a different day, maybe.
Well, I did see the hamstring specialist and stuff like that, so we'll see. Maybe
Did he have a hamstring transplant by chance?
I mean, when he's on the field, he's a big time threat. But when he's on the field,
yeah,
he needs to go to like Germany and get like the platelets spinning. He needs to start trying some of that stuff, I think.
He just needs some rushing. He needs. All right, so what do you guys expect the top 10 to look like? I know the big rumors going around now is that they expect a lot of trades and movement and stuff like that. So that usually means nothing's going to happen. So what do you guys expect the top 10 to look like?
It's to be wild.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a couple years ago. Like that was the big thing going into the draft was you expect a lot of trades, and then like nothing happened.
Oh, I saw New England is shopping their pick.
There is that, but he's it is smoke season.
I mean, I expect Minnesota to move up.
How far do you think they can get? Are they going to be able to get up? I know they're very. I think Drake May is there. Obviously, 1-1 is if they can get Drake May, that would be.
What did Minnesota give up for number 23 again? Was it just second, third, fourth type rounders? They didn't give up a future first, did they?
I don't believe so.
I don't remember.
I could see Minnesota moving up to 3 and giving up their 2 firsts for and maybe a future second. I don't know how what that looks like for the point system, but
it'll depend on what the Patriots think of Drake May or the quarterbacks that are left.
I could see the Giants trying to move into the Patriots spot.
Elliot Wolf's working. Elliot Wolf's the one calling the shots out there now.
Vikings
Jets are moving up.
Jets are moving up for Brock Bowers? Or for a quarterback?
No, they're moving up.
From 10.
JJ McCarthy.
I was thinking McCarthy would be the guy.
So per this particular draft chart, the Vikings' the 2 first round picks would be enough to move them to 4.
4? Okay.
Yeah.
If I'm the Giants, I'm trying to get into 3.
4, man.
Now.
I mean, or Daniels, honestly.
Where are the Giants picking 6?
Yeah.
Now, if you're not in love with the first 3 quarterbacks, why not just stay there and just pick a wide receiver and build for the next quarterback to come?
I mean, I agree.
You're already on the hook this year for Daniel Jones. So you're going to have him.
I agree. It depends on your board, but this happens every year. The next year is never as strong as this year in the quarterback class, and then it changes throughout the year. I understand.
Right now, yeah.
Obviously, Caleb Williams being in this class changes things because he is about as surefire as you can be. I mean, I'm not saying he is surefire, but he's about as locked as you can be.
Just like Trevor Lawrence was.
Trevor Lawrence is still good.
Lawrence is
I will fight that battle. But
I agree with you, Cody.
This is a stronger quarterback draft class than you're probably going to see next year. And if you have a chance at 6 to just fix the Daniel Jones mistake now, if I'm the Giants, I'm taking that swing.
What did we think of the What we thought the 2021 draft class was pretty strong for quarterbacks, right?
What's one?
We thought the 2021 draft class was pretty strong for quarterbacks, right? Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. 4 out of the top 5. 4 out of the top.
But Fields and Jones didn't even go inside the top 5, did they?
No, but they went top
11. Jones was like
16.
But that was 5 quarterbacks that went top 15.
Yeah, but getting a quarterback at 15 is not the same as getting a quarterback at 3. I mean,
Well,
if you're
I understand. No, I'm saying we thought that draft class was good for quarterbacks too. I mean, 4 out of the 5 quarterbacks have been traded already.
Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance were the first 3 picks.
Justin Fields at 8, and then
Fields at
Fields at
11,
11,
and Jones at 15.
15.
no, but no one really like
At that time,
Ross.
we thought that draft class was
No, the Ross reports though. Daniels and May are both much higher than almost every quarterback you just named in that draft class. Like if you stacked them in the same year, they'd be ranked higher.
Except for maybe Lawrence.
Well, yeah, except for Lawrence.
I don't know. It's whatever.
The quarterback position doesn't follow the rules of the NFL draft. Like that particular position is just out the window because you can't win without one.
And until you have it solved, you got to keep, especially if you're picking 6 and you could get a guy that changes your franchise at 3. I'm not saying Daniels or May will, but they have a pretty high ceiling if they hit it. And you got to go for it until you know that that guy isn't that guy.
I think the biggest thing is you got to be able to. It
at
also
this point than it is with Jones.
You also need to go into the right situation. You know.
Sure. I think you got to get him a receiver to throw to.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm more like just get a good wide receiver this year. You already have a quarterback that can play the position. Worry about the quarterback the next year or the following year.
You stuck a
receivers are easier to get though.
Receivers are so much easier to get.
Yes, but then I guess even if Jones doesn't pan out and you've got Harrison or you've got Neighbors, I think then you know that you can find a rookie quarterback that's going to have a year 2 receiver to throw the ball to. But I don't know.
There's no guarantee you can get that rookie quarterback, though.
How good was Garrett Wilson with Zach Wilson last year?
What's that?
I guess that's all I need to say.
Yeah, but they had more issues than just offensive line, and so do the Giants. They need offensive line. They need wide receiver.
Sure, but a good quarterback band-aids those problems.
I mean,
this was kind of one of my things with the Bears too. Is like they have more issues than just the quarterback position. So just getting the quarterback doesn't mean that he's going to be good going forward because you don't have a good offensive line. You don't have good receivers. I mean, they do have DJ Moore.
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword, though. Because if you have a good quarterback on the Bears last year, you think much more highly of everyone else on that offense because the quarterback plays so much better and elevates the whole situation. I mean, that like what CJ Stroud did with the Texans, like you cannot tell me the Texans were as talented as the Bears were outside of quarterback on offense last year.
They developed some guys, I guess. I don't know.
The Bears also designed their offense absolutely terribly around Fields. They started to figure it out late in the year, and that's when the Bears got hot.
Wow.
I think Fields was running for his life.
They also made the mistake of keeping Eberflus. So
good news for a Packer fan.
Yeah, because when he gets fired next year and Caleb Williams is under a new offensive coordinator for another year and stuff like that. But all right. Anyways, so what do you guys expect first 10 to look like? A lot of movement.
I'd say 4 quarterbacks. I think McCarthy makes his way into the top 10. I don't think that Nix or Penix make their way in, but
top 15 yet for them, or what are you thinking?
I'd say Nix maybe 12 to Denver if they don't make a move, and Penix somewhere in the top 20.
It's going to be real interesting once it gets to the Chargers pick. That's when everything's really going to start happening.
They're at 5, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people saying that if Jim Harbaugh is as high on J.J. McCarthy as he's saying he is, he should trade Justin Herbert and draft J.J. McCarthy.
That's got to be fake news.
Well, the thought behind it is fake news, but the sentiment is not.
He's just trying to get him drafted earlier than the other ones.
I know.
What do the Bears do with their second pick, number 9?
That's where I've seen Murphy or a wide receiver.
I mean, you hear rumblings that a lot of teams have Harrison as their number 3 receiver.
I think that would be
Roma
nightmare for
Dunes.
Packer fans if that happened.
They could get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr.
I think that would be nightmare if that happened for the Packer fans.
And Green Bay is going DB round 1.
Well, they kind of have to already, in a sense, because Amon-Ra St. Brown just got paid.
Which means the Lions are going to have less money to spend elsewhere.
Well, and they also signed Penei Sewell he's the highest paid tackle now.
Yeah,
And-
but as
and
they
Brown's
start
highest paid
paying
wide
some of these
receiver.
young guys, it's going to be a lot harder to pay those offensive linemen.
Well, yes, I understand it, but I'm saying the wide receivers in the NFC North are getting kind of scary now because you still got Justin Jefferson, you got Brown, you got DJ Moore, not slow guys. So we need some speed in that back end.
For
Well, luckily, Jefferson doesn't have a quarterback.
Well,
So,
until they get JJ McCarthy.
That's why I do expect them to trade up. Who did they sign? Did they sign like Darnold or somebody?
yeah.
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 I would love to see Darnold under center in that freaking color.
Kidding.
And Aaron Jones behind him.
That's so sad.
Too soon, Don.
Don, why do you always got to go that route?
So what would be I don't even know if this is really they're not even on the same level as us, but what would be a nightmare scenario for Packer fans for the Bears and Vikings?
I mean, for the Bears, it would be Kalen Williams and either Harrison or like
Aduze or whatever his name is.
Freaking Rome.
Roma Dunes.
Dunes,
Dunes,
yeah. I was blanking. I think I feel like that would immediately make the Bears very difficult to deal with.
I would agree. I think what would almost scare me more is if they go edge and it pans out, or D-line, because we know Sweat's good.
Yep.
And if they have 2 really good defensive linemen with what Caleb Williams, even if he doesn't hit his ceiling, what he's going to elevate their offense to, I mean, I would not love that.
If you're the Bears, are you trading back 9 or no? Because they only have 4 picks in this draft.
I'm not making up my mind until I'm on the board.
Yeah, it's tough to say now because there's so much that's going to happen in front of them.
Yeah.
Who's there? Who's willing to give up what for me to move back?
Depends on what quarterbacks are left.
If I'm sitting there at 9 and the number 3 player on my draft board is there, I'm picking them.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, the Bears wouldn't need to take them, and neither would the Jets. But if you're Minnesota and you're sitting at 11, would you trade up to 9 to make sure no one else jumped you to get McCarthy?
No way the Bears trade that pick to
I was going
Minnesota.
to say it's going to cost you a lot more to trade with the Bears.
If anything, you'd have to trade with the Falcons probably.
I think they'd have to move up to like 6.
I think that the nightmare for Chicago would be if Malik Neighbors or Harrison fell. Rome, I can put in that class, but I think he's just a slight tier below Malik and Marvin. Minnesota, I'd say they sit at 11 and they get JJ. And at 23, I don't know what else they need. They got Jordan Addison last year, so they got 2 good wide receivers. I don't think Bowers falls at 23.
I think they need secondary too.
Yeah. I'd say if they're sitting at 23 and they take a guy like Cooper or the top cornerback falls, something like that, that would be something. But there's so many like top cornerbacks, like Mitchell, Arnold, Cooper, I think are all kind of right there. And then a step below would be like Wiggins and McKinstry or whatever his name is.
I could see the Vikings taking Cooper right before us. That'd be a very Vikings situation to happen.
Another 15 years of Hunter Smith 2.0.
Harrison Smith.
One wide in, one wide out. I could see that.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that you could see dropping in this draft? Are any of the
bunch of guys?
Is there any of the quarterbacks you'd see dropping?
Quarterbacks?
Yeah. Could you see JJ McCarthy falling out of the first round? Maybe.
No.
No.
I'd say
Not out of the first. No.
I think Penix could make his way to the back end of round one. Maybe
I think Penix, could be borderline. That would, but
it depends on the hype with him and Bo Nix. If Nix doesn't go until pick 22-ish via trade, because obviously none of those teams really need a quarterback, then I think Penix drops a little more. But I don't foresee that happening.
All right. So then give me a name that you think could drop.
I'd say, Tyler Guyton's not a surefire first round pick. I'd say maybe one of the Georgia tackles, or is there two, or is it just Mims that's the Georgia tackle and Latham's the Alabama guy?
Yeah, Latham is Alabama.
Yeah, Latham's Alabama from Catholic Memorial originally.
That's true.
Then he
I'd
went
say
to MG.
I'd say one of those two guys because of their size and maybe worried about their overall physique or something. But they both have such long arms from what I read that teams would be hard pressed not to take them.
I guess I would say maybe it pains me to say this, but I could possibly see Jared Verse dropping. People don't love, despite producing at multiple levels, people don't love his raw traits. And I could just see someone not wanting to spend a first rounder on someone that doesn't have elite athleticism. I'd be more than happy to take him if he fell to us, but
Andy?
I truly have no idea. I really
it's tough.
The one I would look at and say would be a guy like Bowers, just because he plays tight end position. And how far would he really drop? He's not going to drop out of the first round, but maybe he drops from 10 to 17 or something like that, right?
I think that's a good call. Especially when you look at all the other tight ends that have been drafted high recently. I mean, obviously they produce, but do they really move the needle to merit a top 10 to 15 pick?
Exactly.
If Pittsburgh goes to reunite with Washington.
Maybe, unlikely, but yeah, the only reason behind that is because he plays tight end.
I could any of you see a scenario where like a JJ McCarthy's fallen?
To where?
Yeah, I guess find that.
The late teens.
I could see it.
Yeah, late teens. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
There's so many QB needy teams that surprise me still. But.
I guess my question is more like Aaron Rodgers based. Is there a quarterback you see could fall like Aaron Rodgers did?
No.
I think the situation has changed too much. I mean, we saw Mac Jones go 15.
Yeah, we saw Trey Lance go 3, and he didn't even play it the year before. Granted, it was COVID, but still.
The importance of quarterback has just skyrocketed so much that
it's overvalued.
It's unlikely that type of thing happens again.
Yeah.
I know McCarthy.
Unless there's severe, like Johnny Manziel character concerns.
I mean, he even went top 20, right? He went 20-ish.
He was the first pick of the second round, wasn't he?
Who was that?
Manziel? No, he was.
Oh yeah, no, that was Baker, not Baker. Who the hell was it?
Baker went number 1 overall, there, buddy.
I know he did.
Was it Manziel first pick?
No,
Manziel went like in the
20
20s,
something,
like early 20s. I think like everybody expected Dallas to take him.
Yep, and they did not.
22 to Cleveland.
Yeah,
22. Okay,
that was the Zach Martin draft, I believe, for Dallas.
Well, they made the right choice.
Yep. Who do you think is going to be overvalued in this draft and picked much earlier than expected?
There's a difference between picked earlier than expected and overvalued.
We'll rephrase Don's question, and who do you think is going to quote unquote get reached for? I hate using that verbiage because no one really knows the true value of these guys, but I think that's what you're trying to ask.
Well, yes.
I mean, it always
Right.
tends to be big guys, very athletic. That
Brian Thomas is my guy.
Potential, that you see the potential, but the productivity has never been there, right? And they draft what they think they could become, and then they continue to be who they've always been, right? And so, I mean, I think at the top, like it's pretty solid. The biggest reaches early will probably be middle of the round, would be my guess. Somebody will fall in love with some particular athlete or something and just reach for it.
Give me a name.
I'm going to go Brian Thomas just off of perceived value and where they're going to go.
I'll agree with Cody.
I got kind of a three-way tie. I'd say Nix and Penix, the quarterbacks. I think they're late first round at best. And I think they're going to go probably mid-teens. I would also say Xavier Worthy after running his record combine 40. I think a team is going to possibly look at him higher than he needs to be.
Depends if the Raiders go quarterback or not.
No Marcus Russell, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. See here, what else we got? Kind of covered that one. All right. I think we've gotten everything. Anything else to add for the NFL draft?
All I'm going to say is I think Mason McCormick screams Green Bay Packer. The dude from
North Dakota State guy? Or
I think he's from South Dakota.
South Dakota
State, maybe. South Dakota State, maybe. One of those prairie animal schools.
Yeah. Jackrabbits.
That dude is just a football player that tested freakily athletically. Sign him up. That's all I'm saying.
I want Chicago to avoid drafting the offensive line because I think Caleb Williams is going to suffer almost as much as Justin Fields did. And if without an offensive line, I don't think it matters who they put at quarterback in Chicago. And as a Packer fan, I'm quite all right with that. But
I think their offensive line is better than you give them credit for.
Yeah, top 10 run blocking offensive line last year.
Run blocking.
They got a lot better.
I mean, Justin Fields, yeah, take that with a grain of salt because Justin Fields was running for 100+ yards. So
didn't they start
Also couldn't throw the
like
football.
1-7 and finish like 8-9?
Yeah.
something like that. Same thing Detroit did the year before.
Yeah,
Cody, who did you say screamed Packer?
Mason
McCormick.
Mason McCormick.
No,
Sign him up, baby.
I don't like
I
to say.
was going to say
Bears
Lad
don't like
McConkey. If we needed a wide receiver, he screams Packer.
He's not what we need in a receiver, though.
I know, but if we needed one,
three of those
he screams Packer. All right. Anything else to add, anybody?
Liverpool's toast.
Hate to see
All
it.
right. Well, let's get into some of the other stuff. Cody, you're wearing a Bucks hat. Let's get into it.
What do you want to know, Don? You're Captain Buck.
Well, okay.
Buck.
I'm Captain Pace right now. I'm holding that plus 144 ticket.
God. Donnie, you're
Is
disappointed to the show.
Is Giannis coming back?
No one knows the answer to that question. I mean, I would be
Somebody
very
knows the answer to that question.
I'd be very surprised if he doesn't.
So would I.
Especially, I don't know if he comes back for Game 3, but if they lose Game 3, I'd be really surprised if he's not back for Game 4.
I don't think it happens before Game 5.
I,
The fact
I
that they
don't-
came out so like almost what was it yesterday? I think they already said that he's not going for Game 3. I can't remember, but
I didn't see that.
I thought I saw it. Maybe
I haven't
not.
seen that. But I mean, it just feels like they're just so lock and key on everything. Obviously, not for a competitive advantage and shit like that, but I just have a gut feeling that I think it's more severe than they're leading it on to be.
My read on it, and this is just reckless speculation. I think they're doing that because they want to hold him out as long as they can without having him to come back.
Without forcing him back in.
Because it's going to reach a point that he's so alpha, he's just going to force his way back like he did in the finals. Like, if it gets to the point where it looks like the situation is spinning out of control and we're about to lose the series, he's going to force his way back.
And at the same time, you got to kind of this isn't a championship caliber team. Like,
I disagree. I disagree, Don.
We haven't seen their team.
Yeah, that's my point.
I don't know. I'd rather him get. I mean, I'm not the NBA guy, so I'm not the one that should be speaking on this. But just at that point in time, save him for next year, and then have him full go instead of injuring himself for a playoff run that I don't know. You're not expected to win the championship at least, but
I think if we have everybody healthy and they hit their ceiling, they can do it. Obviously that's long odds on that happening, but you have to play for it if it's still in front of you.
Yeah. And Lillard just runs out of gas in the second half when he's the guy that has to do it.
Well, if he has Giannis, he doesn't have to worry about that.
Well, exactly. The other big topic we can talk about is the Wisconsin Badgers basketball team. AJ Storr transfers out, goes to Kansas. Chucky Hepburn transfers out. Project crystal ball to, I think, Louisville the other day. What is going on in Madison for basketball?
They're getting paid more to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, to a fault of their own, Wisconsin is following the rules when there's nobody to enforce the rules.
So they say. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
And how did this all start? A video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did send to the group that the WIA declined or
Good. That is.
Yep. Failed the.
It's bad enough that they got this whole amplifier to move up a division based on points. Like,
what did they? The NIL thing.
Yeah, for Wisconsin. But yeah, Andy, did you hear that like Wisconsin now has to play D2 next year?
Yep.
Just because they went to state a couple times?
Brilliant does.
Yeah.
I went to state in track in Division 2 twice.
Well, yeah, but there's only what, 4 divisions?
3.
3?
Yeah.
There's 5 in basketball.
That makes the divisions much larger in scope. We were playing against big schools, running against big schools.
Talk about narrowing the audience down.
Well, Cody, what do you
got? Brilliant basketball.
What do you got? Well, no, I had brought up that the measure had failed for high school students in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
To get NIL.
No, I heard you. I was just giving you a hard time.
What do you got to say for the Wisconsin Badgers?
I mean, what is there to say? It's a dumpster fire. I mean, that's the camp I'm in for sure. But I don't trust them to bring in a needle mover that's different than Greg Gard.
I don't think it solves anything.
Yeah,
just adds more instability.
Yeah, you need to change it above Greg Gard at this point.
Yep.
And McIntosh isn't.
I'm not saying
he's done so well with football, but he's kind of dropped the ball with basketball.
It's not on him either.
Yeah, it's like an institutional thing. Like it's a mindset change.
Yeah, and that's where my comment to Spacek was that Wisconsin is still an academic school versus sports. Like their focus is on academics rather than the sports. And that's
college is focused on academics. Who would have thought?
Tell me Alabama isn't or is. They're not.
It absolutely is. It doesn't matter for football players, but like the standards may not be as high as they are in Wisconsin, but it's still a school. You know, the vast majority of folks there are there for an education.
Yeah, I mean Duke's a pretty smart school.
Yeah, but they're also only a one sports school.
Oh, that's
I
not true.
know.
Graham Bartley, come on.
How many quarterbacks did they have drafted in the first round in the past, several years?
One.
This will be at least 2. I think there's a third one.
Daniel
It
Jones
was a
and
first round pick, but what?
you said first round picks. I'm waiting for you to tell me who they were.
Well, I mean, May is going to be one.
He's North
They went to
Carolina.
North Carolina.
Oh, that's way better. You're right. I'm getting confused.
I can't believe
the list I had in my head was North Carolina.
Greg Paulus didn't get drafted.
The list I had in my head was North Carolina.
Daniel Jones is the only one that comes to my mind, and I know I think they had a quarterback transfer out to go to Notre Dame now. I can't remember his name.
Nonetheless, though, they're not just a basketball school anymore. Their football program has become respectable.
Yeah. Well, that's the hard part too, is like Wisconsin's trying to be a two-sport NIL school, and it's hard because you kind of got to specialize almost, it seems like, but
One will take getting one right will take care of the other.
Yep. Rising tide lifts all ships, Don.
well, that hockey was great this year. Well, why aren't we
Yeah, that really prints money.
women's hockey went to back-to-back national championships.
And
All right.
and
Well-
the sport almost certainly lost money as a whole.
Anyway, well, we this was the Sports World previewing the Packers NFL draft and some other crap. So enjoy your night, guys.
Solid ending.